Happy Monday, everybody.
Yo!
Hello. We're going to start the Weird Things podcast here in just a minute. How's everybody doing?
Good. I think my voice is almost back. It's still a little rough around the edges. There was a lot of shouting.
It's still scratchy and irritating and kind of just makes
Just
me
screechy.
kinda
But, and the worst part is the things I choose to say. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't like the taste
the
of any
word
of this.
choice.
Yeah.
The word choice. Yeah. It's not much so what's being said, it's who says it. It's just,
You know what? Now that I think about it, it is what's being said. That could probably use some tuning up too.
welcome to confidence things. Just, in your moment of doubt, I just want to be that voice in your head.
That says, yes, they do hate you.
I do.
Every insecurity you have
if
is
not-
correct.
If not them, then at least me. Know that I hate you.
I befriended you to mock you.
By the way, to everybody in the chat, we have Joe Diamond here with us. Justin is on assignment. He's currently seeing if he can use alchemy to transform alligators into spiders.
Doable.
Yeah, right? Just sort of duct tape some extra limbs on there,
I don't see a problem with that.
put them on a web.
Yeah.
Did you see that footage of the dude who... Yeah, okay.
Florida man.
Yeah.
It's always Florida.
In it. In it.
Represent.
Ah.
All right.
All right. I think we're ready to do the show. Everybody want to do some weird things?
Yes, sir.
Andrew, you good?
Ready?
All right.
Yep.
I'll catch you in then in 3, 2.
Hello and welcome to the Weird Things podcast. I'm Andrew Mean, joined by Brian Brushwood,
Hello, hello.
Mr. Bryce Castillo,
Hello, hello.
and Joe Diamond, our co-host, as always, is here with us today
Always.
too.
Always.
As
Always.
always.
As always,
From
as
the
always.
beginning.
I mean,
We're like-
actually, what's funny is normally that's the big joke, but Joe's been writing in for like what, half a decade, asking for advice and
Oh,
stuff.
I've been listening since the scenario of Houdini and the pyramids. And,
Yes!
Like, Cthulhu and
Oh,
stuff.
geez.
Like, that was like one of the first 10 episodes.
Oh,
I'm an OG listener.
That's amazing.
A scenario that as you said it, I didn't know what the hell you're talking about. I had to stop and think about it and go, I don't know about you guys, but I have the worst autobiography. As narcissistic as I am, I have the worst autobiographical memory.
Well, and we've talked about this, how like after a show, when you're performing, you're so dialed in on the small details and having the next line queued up. There really is this strange amnesia that comes over you.
Yeah.
It's like everything only enters short-term like RAM memory, and there's no need to write it on the hard drive, especially when you know it's been recorded and it's out there. So as a result, like months later, somebody brings something up, and you're like, "Yeah, that sounds like something I'd say."
Yeah.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
I've had to refer to my own books and penguin lectures to answer questions from people like, hey, when you do this trick, it's like this, right? And it's like, totally not pulling up my own lecture on my phone. My wife's like, are you watching yourself again? It's for someone else. It's okay.
With my novels. Oh, when this thing happened, I'm like, sounds like something I'd write. It's cool. I'm in the world of where I do sequels, basically do these series, which is great. But then it's like, oh my God, like what's the father's name? Who's this? I'm like, why wasn't this character there? Oh, there just wasn't room. I forgot they existed.
Well, and plus also, like, this is the kind of thing that in the imaginations of everybody at home, they imagine you have like a big whiteboard with everything written down or whatever that you consult. Truthfully, tell me if I'm out of line here, but I think a lot of folks rely on assistants who really, read and understand the lore, and they're like they pre-attack all of the fan discontinuities.
I don't know. I think a lot of them just do their research. I'm lazy. I'm very lazy.
That's what the editor's
So,
supposed to do. That's very
Well, I have continuity. Like, well, in your last book, you reported the eye color was this, and now it's this, and I'm like, the lighting was different.
the contact lenses. That was
Yeah. God damn it, Bryce, you should have been there.
don't you hire away, Bryce.
And you get people who point out like, oh, this hotel does. I'm like, yeah, I made up. These books are fiction. I made it all up, folks. It's all a lie.
That hotel doesn't face south.
Because I get, and I had somebody point out something too, like the way I did the last names, like in certain countries, like last names in differently if you're male or female, which is like a fact I knew, but a fact I just ignored, and I wrote a name, and somebody's like, "Hey, you didn't do this," and I'm like, well, you're right, but also, do we have to? Like, because there's people trying to change it, but I'm also, no, in my universe, this is the way it works.
That's just Earth B. Earth B.
Yeah,
That's an appropriate name over there.
Yeah, you are wrong. Seattle is on the East Coast in my book.
The sun sets in the east, rises in the west. Everyone knows that.
So, gentlemen, let me ask you here. Do we all feel like we're living close to our best life?
More this week than last week. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're doing pretty good over here. Yeah.
Cool. Good. So
unless you think there's room for improvement.
I'm not telling anybody how to live their life, let alone how to live their best life, because there could be. I mean,
there might be a book in it for you. Have you ever considered writing a book?
Well, and also if you're like, I want to start forest fires and stuff. No, don't do that.
Right.
But if you're, what would you see yourself doing at 90 when you hit 90?
Ooh.
You know what's funny is it's very close to what I already do, which is give advice. I apparently love giving advice. I think I could do that well into my 90s.
So who's grandpa talking to at the picnic table? There's nobody there.
In my day, they used to watch videos on the phone.
I talked to an 88-year-old who's clearly retired. And I'm like, so what do you want to do with your life? All right, where are you headed? How can I help?
What's your hustle? What's going on? Yeah.
Let me tell you about Cabo.
Right.
Sorry, the question again is what are we doing when we're 90?
Yeah, 90. What do you see yourself doing at 90?
What we'd like, or what we think is actually going to happen, or both?
Both.
Yeah. I think at 90 I would want a very quiet life. I think I would want to be around my family and my loved ones, and make them and the world a better place at 90.
Dead.
Or
Oh, jeez. All right. You know what? If what I'm seeing in the chat room is in any indication, you may rethink that. Andrew, I think I know where this is headed.
Well, you heard it here first, unless you heard it elsewhere. We talked about the rumor of who is going to be going up on the next Blue Origin space flight, and it's been confirmed.
90-year-old William Shatner is going to effing space.
So pretty epic that we've all lived long enough to see William Shatner go into space.
Oh my God. Buckle up for everybody to discover for the first time his I think it was an Emmy performance of Rocket Man. It's gonna be amazing.
Oh God. Do you remember? I don't remember the name of the show, but he did like a reality show where he went back to his no, not that one. Yes, that one, but yeah. Okay. But no, he did this reality show where exactly. Where he went to like the town that I guess Captain Kirk is supposed to be from.
Yeah.
And he punked them all into doing ridiculous things for the show that was never gonna happen.
Oh.
He just kept making people say
that's so embarrassing. I would want to leave the planet.
Well, it's amazing because exactly. It's amazing because he gets these small town folks to just do take after take of just yelling at the sky, going no, and they're doing it because William Shatner is telling them to do it.
Oh yeah.
Is that it?
Is this better late than never?
Better late than never.
American
reality
2016 or so.
Yeah.
2015, 2016?
I think it's even before that.
Oh wow!
I think that might be before it even. Yeah. So fiction becomes reality. So when are we is he getting teleported up there? That's the next question.
No, it's Blue Origin. You know.
Yeah,
If he was teleported, it would be slightly slower than the SpaceX teleporter.
fair enough.
So think about this. It was not 20 years ago, not 30 years ago, not 50 years ago.
60 years ago.
It was 50. It was 50. Is it? Wait. Well, let me do the math here. This is my favorite. I always try to like go by like TV and movie nostalgia,
Right.
like measuring things. Yeah, it was 58 years ago.
Holy
58 years ago that he did Nightmare at 20,000 feet.
The
There's
Twilight Zones.
something
So he
Man
did
on
that
the
wing.
before. Yeah.
Oof.
Wow.
58 years ago.
That is amazing.
Jeez.
To go back and watch that episode of him on there is pre-Star Trek, pre all that, and to think, yeah, almost 60 years from now, this guy's gonna
Go to
be in space.
Wow. Is this he's actually going to do this, right? Is he actually going to do this? Is it? I mean, this is. I guess
Yeah.
when we talked about it last week, we talked about the other astronaut who was in her 80s, who had gone up.
Who
but-
is very hale and hearty, fit,
70s.
trim, and
Yeah.
I am free to admit,
Wally
completely skeptical at the time, mainly because that seems like dangerous cargo to treat well, and the downside liability of being the guy whose rocket, I don't even want to say it out loud, but it seems to me like there's a significant downside if everything does not go perfectly according to plan. And
Which would be
I figured people would be risk averse, but apparently I'm wrong.
right. I mean, that to me, those are all reasons why they would find a reason for him not to be on that rocket that day,
Right.
For some reason.
I-
And
Oh,
the
last
reason-
minute. So you're still skeptical
I think that there's a non-zero chance that
that
he finds a way to
whoopsie-doodle-
not that he's worming his way, and like not any sort of judgment on that, but I think that there's a good chance that this doesn't happen.
All right, let me clarify, and I don't want to disparage anything.
Oh.
Remember, this is not an orbital rocket.
Right.
This is not
Right.
not like watching a SpaceX rocket. It's not going 20,000 miles an hour.
Right. It's not going
Going-
3Gs. We're certainly going fast, but not that
Maybe
fast.
at the peak, maybe it's 3Gs or something, but it's like it's not. It's a different. The maximum speed is, I don't know. What's the maximum speed? Blue, because that's one of the reasons that they use this for tourism. Is that it's not going to be going like crazy acceleration.
JDS3K in the chat is saying fake space. I believe compared to Virgin Galactic, you could make a case that Virgin Galactic is definitely fake space, but this is significantly farther up. This is past the Kármán line. This is as legitimate as Alan Shepard going to space.
Yuri Gagarin, yeah. So it's space, not orbital, and
Is he gonna
You
fight
can-
the Gorn while he's up there?
Oh, jeez.
Can someone like just wear that costume?
just pull out the mask and be like,
Just-
come on, just
come on,
once.
come
Do-
on,
give me the
come
double
on."
fist.
Yes.
I love that you can. Velasquez Rocks is where that was shot, which you can go to in LA, which is really fun. I'll take my friends out there.
I love
just
how
walk it-
many other movies it shows up in.
Oh, a ton of them. But I like, you walk and you see the two rocks, then you see that thing, and you're like, oh, cool. And then I'll just start fighting my friend randomly.
I guess William Shatner gave a quote to Blue Origin about this. Quote, "I've heard about space for a long time now. I'm taking the opportunity to see it for myself. What a miracle."
Now that does sound like a 90-year-old.
That's pretty good.
I've heard of this space
I
you
didn't say it's
speak of.
space.
Well, it's him. I mean, I don't know if you watch this, he is so sharp in interviews. He's so sharp. It's hard to believe he's 90.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
on top of that, there is kind of a curious irony to, like, the last time I saw him talk about privatized space travel, he was bagging on it, saying that it's not possible and we're never going to go to Mars. And now here he is hitching a ride, which again, like I'm nothing but cheering. I'm like, another convert, another person who cannot dispute that privatized space travel seems to be working out.
Yeah, and if Elon Musk wanted to play this game, which he doesn't, but if he wanted to, I could see him getting like Patrick Stewart, LeVar
Oh my
Burton,
God.
just getting like all
No,
he can fail.
fully crew
No,
a Dragon
no, no, no,
Castle
get-
with the entire cast of the Next Generation. Oh, I'm so all in.
No, get the J.J. Abrams cast.
No.
No,
Too expensive.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's how he'd mess it up.
No, Bezos, but I mean Bezos is a super Next Gen fan. So if Elon put the Next Generation crew in there, you know, Bezos would be like, Musk. You see that Saturday Night Live episode where they did Bezos and
I did not.
it was kind of funny. Then
Was
Elon
that
Musk pops
this
up.
week or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did see in my YouTube feed a whole bunch, like they did apparently a very good Norm Macdonald tribute, and I couldn't bring myself to look at it.
So also, I did not realize that this mission we were talking about is in a little over a week.
It's coming up.
That's very close. Wow, that's cool, because normally we hear about like, oh, this person who built a PayPal is going into space, and then it's like months and months and months and months and months. But
that's real space, though. I mean, this is literally
also that's a previous generational news cycle. We live in a news cycle where a week is an eternity. This seems like an appropriate time to announce if you've been doing all the hard work behind the scenes.
Well, but a SpaceX and orbital launch is a lot. This is a thing sitting in Jeff's backyard. Yeah, you want to go? Look, you guys want to go? Cool. He was at like a cocktail party last week and ran a chat. Like, hey, I've been wanting to talk to you. I have a crazy idea. I got a thing in my backyard.
Revs it
up.
up.
It's
cylinder
really cool.
Corvette or something like.
Yeah.
Oh no, hop in. Let's go.
Asked the lady down the street. Turned out she was like part of this program to show that women could be astronauts too. Really awesome all along. So if you want to go do it, we can do it. Cool. I'll just call the guys, have them fuel it up. It's all good.
I guess my assumption is, because I'm still thinking of in the big going to real space and all of the processes to that. For say something like this, however real it may or may not be, I'm assuming that like there's not a huge like training procedure, or there's still a ton of health and safety checks ahead of time. I mean, you're still launching off the planet.
They're like, okay, seatbelt for your foot, seatbelt for your head. It's like they're literally. I mean, they'll have a whole training thing, but you're spending like 4 minutes. It's like 4 minutes in space. It's
but
it's Space Mountain.
From what I remember, way back in the day, 10 plus years ago, I remember Totally Rad Show did a segment where Alex Albrecht went flying with the Blue Angels, and he was given I'm sure there's training in terms of advice to keep from passing out at high Gs. He's like, hey, we're going to pull a hard G turn. When you do, make sure to go hick, and then kind of hold your breath, and you could see him doing that during that stuff. So I'm sure there's some amount of, get ready for this, get ready for that kind of thing.
Yeah, I would bet, but again, it's not.
Yeah,
when they were doing
in my head, it's the big spinner test, and they got to do all the big.
When you're putting 4 people into a SpaceX capsule that's going to be going around for 3 days and stuff, and you got toilets and all sorts of other stuff and procedures and spacesuits and stuff. That's a lot more to it.
Yeah.
What is the next frontier in terms of celebrity casting for these space trips?
I would say that with
like, is it going to be mainstream? Is like, are they going to have start having like?
Well, Tom Cruise is supposed to be going up on a SpaceX capsule. There's the Russians are shooting a movie. There's the upcoming Soyuz mission where they're putting some bringing up an actress, and they're got a director, and they're going to shoot some stuff part of a movie. But then for SpaceX, like that's they're supposed to be like, I think the Doug Liman, Tom Cruise. I think that's a plan, is to do that. So, and I think it was interesting too, because there was criticism of the Inspiration 4 that there wasn't a lot of video footage, but then like Jared Isaacson's like, yeah, no, we don't get the video downlinks like NASA does. It's not like we can be up there, just be broadcasting and say hello.
Right. We have to
Yeah.
record locally and then handle it.
Yeah.
What about like royalty or a politician or someone like that? You think going to space? You think like, yeah, you know, part of the next.
That's wild.
That would be the next big
I wonder
crossover.
if there's not some kind of like inadvertent messaging that you're doing if you actually send a member of the government up. Like it, I could picture it causing international friction if it was, however slightly implied that any one country was, you know, sending government officials.
I don't know. I mean, we put John
we did that
Glenn
with John
on
Glenn, yeah.
and then we had was a Kuwaiti prince that we put on. I think that was. I'm trying to remember who that was, but we've sent like.
I'm thinking like during an election, like as like the stunt.
Oh no,
like
Saudi prince.
Like yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
like
that seems
like
like a bad idea.
Yeah, Sultan bin Salman Al Saud. He went up, so he's a Saudi prince, and we put him up on STS-51.
Boy, that's a smug look that only an astronaut can summon. Like, that's right. I seen all y'all from space.
And that to me felt like, a favor to the Saudis.
Yeah.
So, no knocking him or whatever. And by all means, dude, good on you. But that was like, yeah, sending John Glenn up was like, okay, it's cool that you went up, but like,
And,
now
and he went up the risky way, aka on a space shuttle.
Yeah. So did the Sultan. Yeah. So anyhow, I think that as far as like what next big things, like, I mean, these, because it's anybody, can basically charter or, rent one of these things out.
Then it becomes less impressive to a certain degree.
Yeah. I mean, in our lifetimes, we're going to see going to space be about as novel as going on a cruise.
Oh yeah. Bill Nelson.
How wild is that?
Yeah. Our current NASA, Bill Nelson, they sent him to space too.
I do not know who.
I know who we should send. Joel Hodgson.
Joel's awesome.
From Mystery Science
and
Theater.
We'll send him TV movies, the worst we can find.
Yes,
He'll
send
have
him.
to sit and watch
Let's
them
do
all
it.
while we monitor
He's
his
earned
mind.
it. He's seen enough of that. He's seen and curated enough of those. He's earned to do it for real.
God, could you imagine the deadpan broadcasts coming from Joel Hodgson in space?
Yeah.
Yes.
Joel's great. Talked to him a little while ago before he did the latest launch, which they got fully funded on for the new MST3. Okay, so here's the thing. Bill Nelson, we've had two sitting members of Congress, 2 members of Congress have gone into space on the space shuttle.
Huh.
Does that seem
fair? Good? Responsible? Lacking in grift?
I mean,
no, it seems like none of those.
I mean, is it a yeah, I'll drink a glass of our own town's water supply type of thing, or is this a like a
Bryce,
elbow,
it's not like
nudge, nudge?
Not like there's thousands of people that have been in the astronaut training corps at NASA, fully qualified scientists and researchers that want to go up there.
It's a little bit more like, yes, I did appropriate all of our town's fund to create the world's coolest roller coaster. But I hear you. Many of you think it's unsafe. Allow me to demonstrate how awesome and safe it is by riding it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, now I'm going to ride it again. You'll get your turn when I feel like it. Keep going.
These are not special ops stuff. These are the last people in the world you would have anything do like that. This literally is NASA playing politics to say, and behind the scenes, somebody says, he wants to go to space, come up with a reason to go to space. To me, it's like, I love NASA. This is what I hate about it.
Yeah. Many people feel like the new ride Smuggler's Run at Disneyland, Disney World is very unsafe. I will prove how safe it is by playing it all day today.
I'm sorry, I just got a text that I've been invited to some sort of media personality NASA training astronaut program. Let me explain to you. I think what NASA's doing is amazing, and I think this is great, and I fully support this.
Man. Ambassador to Space, Andrew Main, ladies and gentlemen. I'll tell you what, man. If you want to send Andrew Main to space,
Yeah.
because
Let's send him.
then you can head on over to patreon.com/weirdthings. That's where you keep our show loud, live, and independent. Just $1 an episode. That's all we ask. You get your own RSS feed, and we show up to bring you the weird things.
Patreon.com/weird things.
Yeah. So it was Jake Garn was a sitting senator too who went. Good Lord. Sorry.
It's like
But these are similar.
We're seeing a live like Woodward and Bernstein moment as you uncover like they've all been to space, Brian. You don't understand. That's the only reason anyone runs for anything.
Well, I remember Glenn going up, and I'm like going up again. I like John Glenn. I'm like, well, that seems this, but then like Garn and Nelson were both sitting senators, sitting in this, and you're like, it's both parties. Garn's Republican, Nelson's a Democrat, and you're like, well, this is just so, of all 300 plus million Americans, we decided to choose 2 members who are actually, politicians who affect our budget.
Andrew, I want you to know that I hear you loud and clear. You don't think this water slide is safe or a good investment for the government. I'm going to prove to you that it's totally safe by riding it all day.
You're worried about these comfy front row seats at the premiere of Dune and the soft drinks and the beverages.
Is it safe to watch Dune? I bravely will lead from the front by finding out.
Yeah.
It's all right. You know what? The David Lynch version wasn't that bad.
Yeah. Yes, it has its charm.
Agreed.
All right, gentlemen, I want to present to you a mystery. Okay.
Oh, good.
Bryce, can you pull up an image of Meteor Crater?
Absolutely.
We're looking at Meteor Crater. If you guys are familiar with Meteor Crater,
that's where
it's
is it in Arizona or down in Mexico?
Believe it's in Arizona.
Okay. I remember it being featured prominently in the movie Starman. It's this perfectly carved out ice cream scoop of Earth. It's really extraordinary. And I'm told that, in fact, as a matter of fact, there was an NPR piece on it where somebody went there and you listen to him sort of really stand on the edge and process just how big it is. It's one thing to look at the ice cream scoop. It's another thing to really comprehend, geez, this is a big old ice cream scoop that just got taken out.
So if you were to walk down into this crater towards the middle there, you would find a chain link fence. And in the middle of the chain link fence, you would find a large borehole where somebody dug straight down. Okay?
Okay. This is, I assume, for scientific purposes, they did this?
We'll get to that.
Okay.
At the bottom of the borehole, bottom of the hole, you would find wreckage of an airplane.
What?
What kind of airplane? Like modern, like the one I was on earlier from Southwest.
A Flintstones pterodactyl airplane.
Okay, all right. So like
like a Cessna, like a plane like that.
Okay, so something that you would expect from recent history. Did somebody commit suicide by flying straight down into the borehole in the middle of a meteor crater?
No.
Are they pranking people?
No.
Was this on MTV's Punk'd? We're gonna put a Cessna at the bottom of this borehole.
We put Lance Bass in a plane and we crashed it into Meteor Crater.
Won't scientists be like mind screwed? It's amazing.
Okay, so it's in the center. Is it covered by anything? Like, do you have to take a ladder to get down to it? There's just
it's just a fence, just chain link fence to keep you from whoa.
Okay, but you look down at the edge of the chain link fence, and there's the
you look down. That's the way holes work, Joe.
No, but you can't get down.
Oh my God! Welcome to the show, Joe. I feel like you're fully initiated now.
Are you, Joe?
Haven't had any complaints yet. All right. No, is there a ladder into the hole?
No.
Do I need help getting to the plane, or do I need to?
I'm still. Your comeback was great. I'm still laughing at it.
Okay, thank you. All right.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, this is something they unearthed that it wasn't the hole was there first and then the plane went in. It's like the hole dug down and discovered the plane.
You asked me a question?
I'm asking you, is the plane surrounded and embedded in the dirt the way like dinosaur bones would be?
No, that would be effing weird if it was, though.
Right?
If only we were on a show called Weird Things.
I know.
If only where like that would be brought up.
It turns out we're only moderately weird.
Yeah,
things.
moderately weird. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Okay, so the whole I'm going to assume these are my suppositions so far. Guide me to the extent that you think I need it. I assume number one that the borehole. I know this is a valuable place because of the fact that you have asteroid matter coming in. I know it was instrumental to start to trying to figure out the age of the planet. Because it was, the force of, I don't know, 100 or 1,000 atomic bombs, whatever. So I assumed the borehole was essentially like an ice core that they dug for scientific purposes. And the best guess I have is that a Kookaburra guy crashed a plane in there just because.
Huh?
As I say that sounds pretty dumb.
All right, I want to give you a little bit of history. So,
Okay.
This it had many names: Crater Mountain, Meteor Crater, and two other names, which I won't name because they may be considered politically insensitive now.
Oh no.
Let's just say the raccoon may have to have a name change.
Right. Okay. All right.
Okay. So, but again, which may imply that there's probably a bigger history that name it's not racist. I don't know. I have no idea. But anyhow, people don't always know what it was. The whole idea of meteors was something controversial. There's a letter about, Thomas Jefferson opining on meteors because some, researchers had claimed they'd had found meteor rock, and Jefferson made some comment like, I believe it more likely two Yankees are making up a story about rocks falling from space or something, just this.
Which by the way, is a healthy, skeptical default position because, let me get this straight. I can either believe that you got drunk and saw, air quotes, something, or I can believe that rocks fall out of the sky. All right. BRB going to write the Declaration of Independence,
There's, if you go to Monticello, there's he actually has a mammoth skull, a woolly mammoth skull there, right? And when he sent Lewis and Clark out, that's one of the things I think to Mary Lou Lewis is like, hey, look for these. We don't know, maybe there's some of these still walking around there because America was this big, wide, who knows what was out there.
Yeah. And
they didn't find them, but then they found grizzly bears, and that's reading the accounts of the Lewis and Clark expedition and grizzly bears is fun. Because it's what? That's a bear. I got bears. I got this. I'm like, no.
You're like, you're a big feller, aren't you?
Yeah. Terrified. So we could write a horror story just about that. So anyhow,
we're looking at the hole right now, and it's got that same. Yep, there's a chain link fence to keep people from falling right in, and a chain link fence around it.
Yeah.
So let me give you some background. A mineralogist, Albert E. Foote, presented the first sign.
So wait, how does that work?
What?
The hole. How does that work, Andrew? I'm still waiting for you to explain it.
No, he is explaining it.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Good. We'll get to it.
Okay.
I'll give you a little background because they're first what caused this? What did this?
Okay.
And one of the explanations for it, because meteors were still kind of a sketchy thing, there was a mineralogist, Alfred E. Foote, who'd been looking at meteorites, recognized that rock from there probably came from a meteorite, but Grove Carl Gilbert, a name that you had to be born in the 1800s to have, from the U.S. Geological Survey, concluded it was a result that the crater was because of a volcanic steam explosion.
What?
the San Francisco volcanic fields are only about 40 miles away. So there are some volcanic fields near there. And at that point, they're like, maybe it was a steam explosion. Because he's like, what they believed at that point, he says, oh, there should be meteoric material around the rim. There should be a lot more material available there. And he also figured that in the center, it should affect like a compass, that should pick up a magnetic field. And so he's like, I don't think this was. Then a mining engineer and businessman, David and Barringer, said the crater was produced probably by the impact of a large iron metallic meteor. And he got a land patent, basically the right to exploit it, from Teddy Roosevelt.
No kidding.
To go in there. And he, wanted to go try to, dig up, because he wanted to find the iron. His goal was to find that. And so they started digging boreholes in there to try to dig down, because they thought somewhere at the bottom of there, and like space mining began in, the early 1900s, folks. This guy was trying to dig down in there, actually way before, if you look at some meteoric iron and how it shows up. And
oh my God. I have a theory. If I may. My theory is that not only, so as you said, he got the land grant because he was looking for iron. He dug down. That is the result of the mining expedition. And I suspect he found the actual meteorite. Is that right?
So the problem is there really wasn't a solid meteor to find, because the energy from the thing basically exploded on impact. And so there's a little piece. The meteor was everywhere. It was everywhere. There wasn't some big, huge rock embedded in the ground, which is because that's this thing just exploded entirely. So
right.
there was no meteor. So this guy wasted his entire fortune, $500,000, like 1920s money, like that day, $500,000, which would be millions of dollars today, trying to find it, never found it. And then basically about the time he died, a research paper came out and said, you know what, we think maybe like this damn thing blew up. Now, for a comparable impact, to get a kind of an idea of a comparable thing, was the Siberian explosion.
The Tunguska blast.
Mm-hmm. The Tunguska blast was probably about roughly the same size, amount of value, which, this one happened 50,000 years ago. Tunguska was,
1910 or 20.
Yeah, around that point. And so they dug a bunch of boreholes trying to find it, couldn't find it. And then in 1964, two pilots in a Cessna 150 flew over the crater. Now, the problem is that you forget that, like, flying an airplane, particularly a plane like that, like I was watching a James Bond movie and they're talking about when they're remember the Bond movie with the drug cartels and whatever.
This would be during the Timothy Dalton era.
Yeah, the Timothy Dalton. Yeah. And so they shot a lot of that in Mexico, and they said, we had to shoot the airplane sequence earlier in the day, because in the day the plane just couldn't fly.
Wow.
Because of the heat. And so this airplane flew into the caldera, or flew into the crater, and could not get enough lift to make its way back out of it, and was stuck.
No kidding.
Oh.
Crashed, bailed. So they had to, they crashed the plane, and I believe they survived, but they had all this wreckage in the middle of there. So we got a hole.
Wait a minute. Okay, so who makes the call? Is it the pilots push the wreckage in, or is it the people who running the park with like the people? Man, I don't want to clean this up.
The people who own meteor
littered.
crater.
It was littered.
It's a fake meteor?
No.
No, the plane was littered.
Like imagine you're the park executive, and you've got this wreckage everywhere that's ruining your beautiful scenic park.
Yeah.
You got two choices. You can
Pay to have it.
figure out how to get it out of this big ass crater,
Get it on.
or you could just push it on down that hole.
Really?
Yeah.
Come on.
How much would you pay to like push a piece of a plane?
Oh,
down
into
that?
an infinite hole at the bottom of a freaking
Yes.
crater?
Like, tell me you wouldn't like at least check your bank account to see before you started bidding.
I mean, I'd give you 100 right now, even if you just lie to me and tell me I will get to.
So Finally, kind of the thing that sort of sealed the nail in the coffin as far as what it was actually Eugene Shoemaker published a paper explaining this is what the cause was. This is why you're not going to find the thing down there. Shoemaker, who you may know, was a co-discoverer of Shoemaker-Levy, which was the comet that went in and hit Jupiter.
Right. As a matter of fact, no, sorry, that was Hale-Bopp. But Shoemaker-Levy, man. I think it broke into 7 or 9 pieces and just created the most spectacular solar system amateur astronomy event of my lifetime.
Yeah, it created a scar on Jupiter as it went into it, which is incredible.
So cool.
And that's and he unfortunately he passed away from right before this happened. He was actually in Australia going to look at another crater impact site. So
in the chat, JDS3K. Like you never dumped your old plane in a meteor crater mine hole. Hypocrites.
It just imagine that they buried it, they just filled in the hole, and some researchers later on are going to explore this
and then it actually becomes that scenario where it's just like
we found a weird man-made metal object underground.
Well, it's like the prop Nessie that they keep finding on scans at Loch Ness.
At the bottom of Loch Ness.
Yeah, they built it. Have you heard this story?
No, I haven't.
It was like for some like Sherlock Holmes movie, and they built this massive Nessie, and ironically, it sank. Like before they could finish filming with it, so the scene.
So now all of the
Loch Ness
when you
hunters. Scan, when like scanners will see like the shape of Nessie at the bottom when they're like scanning it, and they're like, "Oh, there's something down there."
Oh, that's so great.
So this prop has become part of the lore.
Turns out now there is a Nessie.
Yeah.
I found the article on that.
It's amazing. It's an amazing story.
Bryce, do you have this?
No.
I'll put it in the chat.
You know,
check this out.
In an internet age, it makes me feel like people are only going to move faster and faster to plant these things. The moment a rumor goes around, they're going to make it real.
One at a time.
Yeah, every detail Joe said is exactly as it happened. It's true. There's the prop. I remember that from the Sherlock Holmes movie. There's Nessie.
Which Sherlock Holmes' movie is it? Oh, and there's the scan. There's the scan.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow,
that's so good.
That's a Loch Ness.
The Private Life of Sherlock Holmes.
Private Life of Sherlock Holmes. There we go.
It was a humorous sort of one take out of it. Yeah. So yeah, there's the.
Wow.
Oh man.
They found Nessie. She's dead. We're sorry.
That's brilliant.
Now, what if this is just what if the prop has been eroding over time, but then a new little Nessie has been growing right next to it?
Oh.
One day this thing's gonna be gone, and we're gonna wonder where it went, and it's gonna be the real Nessie.
So, by the way, that had Mycroft, who is like Sherlock Holmes' smarter brother, was played by Christopher Lee in there. And I don't know how much you know about Christopher Lee, but if you want to say if you want to put the list the most interesting man in the world,
oh yeah,
he is. This is a guy that actually World War II had worked British intelligence. He's cousins with like Ian Fleming too, which is like crazy. Mm-hmm. And people say he's got like this encyclopedic kind of memory, speaks so many languages and stuff. And I was going through like this James Bond kick, then they got to the Man with the Golden Gun and Christopher Lee. And I'm like, yeah, every time, like I watch some of the behind the scenes of The Hobbit and, Lee, they would take them forever to shoot some of the stuff because Lee would go on with stories and nobody wanted to stop him with his stories because this guy has, this guy's been a spy, fought in wars, he speaks multiple languages and just is, written novels and just an incredible mind.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Like there was a generation of actors. It was like James Doohan in Star Trek, Scotty, like, this guy actually was in the Canadian, Air Force, whatever, flew missions, bombing missions in World War II and stuff. And just, the life that he lived up until, then we think of like, now he did something really cool. Like, well, a lot more there. So, Joe, do you want to do picks?
Yeah, dude. I normally don't indulge in this level of self-promotion, but I'm going to pick Great Night. We had a really good week this week. We had guests from out of town. We had Matt Donnelly, the Mind Noodler. We had Andrew Heaton in town. if you've never seen our Tuesday night comedy shenanigans, boy, we've really ramped things up over the years. And this week's episode is a bit chaotic, but damned if I didn't burst out laughing rewatching it just this very afternoon. I mean, it's when we're good, we're very, very good.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I don't know what I've got for a pick. Great Night is I'll at least piggyback on that. We've been doing using the new set and all the new stuff for about 3.5 months now, and we're still iterating and finding new ways to build up on the format and on the technical side. We've started using another camera, which helps make it look different in its own way. So greatnight.tv or the podcatcher of your choice. I am going to I'm going to triple down on a pick that I've made before, the Things app. I've got a pro tip for the Things app, or for any to-do app if you've got it in your life.
All right, here we go. Welcome to Bryce's pro tip sips for apps where you write stuff down.
If you have like a today list or a view where you can see all of the tasks that you've got to do right now, see if you've got an option where when you mark it as completed that it doesn't disappear, where you keep all the things that you've done today on that page until the end of the day, so that you
have that validation.
Right. You're saying, oh, wow, I really did 8, 9, 10 things in the day. Because I think that was something that I was having a very weird, a little bit of weirdness with the Things app, was because you hit it and it disappears right away. And that just gives you this feeling of like, okay, I've always got a shrinking to-do list, but it's always to do. And having a little bit of that validation has helped, I think, a little bit in keeping me motivated. So the Things
was
app.
Your weekly Bryce pro tip for apps that involve writing things down.
I have a pick. I have a question that will seem like I'm digging myself back into a hole, but I'm hoping the reasoning for it will justify it.
If you ask again how a hole works.
So how does it work? I'm not. Anyway, yeah, exactly. No, so I am behind on this show and After Things because I have been listening to the audiobook of Mastermind. How in depth have you guys talked about it so far?
Not at all.
Not at all.
Well, about as much as we've talked about my fire eating routine.
Okay, fair enough.
They know I write books, Joe. It's about it.
Fair enough. I listened to the audio, so it's twofold. There's two audiobooks, because right after this I went right into another one, which I'll mention in a moment. But I mean, first of all, I heard flattery will get you everywhere. Andrew, phenomenal. Like, I've loved both those characters for such a long time. At the end of the last Theo Cray novel, when Jessica showed up, spoiler alert, they're both in this. It says they're both in this book. It was great. It was wonderful. It was the same level of excitement I had when Nick Fury showed up at the end of the first Iron Man. It was awesome. Yes, spoiler alert, Bryce. If you've never looked at a Marvel poster, but no, just the way it bounced back and forth between the two characters' points of view, and particularly the audiobook readers kind of as those characters, like, just phenomenal on every level. And literally, no. Within minutes of it ending, I was like just so like jazzed for it. It was right when Yours Cruelly, Elvira dropped, and it's read by Cassandra Peterson.
Wow.
And it's wonderful from the showbiz standpoint. She tells stories of everyone from she claims Siegfried offered to bet her and take her virginity, which she politely declined. That's what she claims in the book.
To which Siegfried replied, "Phew."
No. Apparently he offered. Again, she goes through all the disclaimers and everything in the book. But hearing her actually read some of these harrowing tales in her own voice, and like, there's moments where like she's reading it as Cassandra, and then there's moments where like the Elvira tone and the quippiness will like slip in. It's a wonderful read. I got the actual book as well, and I plan on sitting down just reading the actual book at some point because I'd like to read it again. But just again, both those on every level, phenomenal, especially as audiobook experiences.
Right on.
Yes.
So funny story on the audiobook was I got from the producers of the audiobook, they said, hey, here are 2 narrators we want you to check out to see if you approve. Like I get a limited say, but not really. Like I could object to somebody, but if I wanted to, but they said, hey, what do you think of these 2? I'm like, why didn't you get the guy who did all of the Theo Cray books and the woman who did all of the Jessica Blackwood books to do this? And they're like, oh, we didn't know that there were books before. I'm like, yes.
What?
Like, oh,
What?
oh, okay. I was like, why do we do? Then they're like, and then they're like, oh, okay. And so they went and got and I'm glad that they did 2 voices too. I'm not just have one person do both of them. And then the fact that they went and got the original people to do them, I'm like, I was like, hey, what you crazy idea. Let's like Will Dameron keep doing them. And, so.
Yeah, no, worth it. Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
So I went through and I've been watching just all these James Bond movies back to back instead of writing the next book in the Theo and Jessica series, by the way, just like do right now because I'm just a procrastinator. And it is interesting when you just kind of watch. I'm not letting myself watch anything else. I'm just watching them go one movie, then I'll watch behind the scenes, which I do think up until Pierce Brosnan, they had these really cool behind the scenes docs that they would do with them, which was just a great kind of like understanding a lot of the story, the lore behind it, because like their names you see, like, Barbara Broccoli is one of the current producers. She's the daughter of Albert Broccoli, who was the producer of it, started the series. Albert Broccoli's cousin worked for like Lucky Luciano and like this crazy old Hollywood sort of story. Michael Wilson.
Also, I think we covered on Cord Killers that Amazon recently bought all of the rights. It's a big deal, and the question is like, what are they going to do with it?
Yeah, the MGM and all that. Yeah. So Cubby Broccoli had married a woman who had a son, Michael Wilson, and basically became his stepson. And Michael Wilson worked his way from like being just an assistant to producing. Now the movies are produced by Barbara Broccoli, the daughter, and Michael Wilson. And Michael Wilson's a very interesting guy when you look at his story. His father was the original Batman in the Batman serials.
Oh,
sorry,
black and white ones.
Wow.
Yes.
It's just like a car. Like the Batmobile is just like a car.
I did not know that anything existed before the 1960s in color Batman.
Well, there was there was a serialized Batman series like the 1940s.
Except for of course the comics before anybody writes this.
But also there was too, like the story about kind of how Batman kind of like may have been kind of a ripped off.
No.
The Bill Finger.
Well, even though
story.
not even just the Bill Finger, prior to because Bob Kane and Bill Finger, the notorious, like how much of this was Bill Finger created versus Bob Kane. It's all Bob Kane because I'm standing to inherit some Bob Kane art. But anyhow, with that's my official position. But there was a play called like The Bat, and it involved these people invited to this house, and this kind of the gentleman killer who had like a bat symbol and a utility belt was going offing all these other people. And you look at this, and it's like read the description.
Wow.
A 3-act play by Mary Roberts Reinhardt and Avery Hopwood that was first produced by Lincoln Wagenhase and Colin Kemper in 1920. Story combines elements of mystery and comedy as Cornelia Van Gorder and guests spend a stormy night at a rented summer home searching for stolen money they believe is hidden in the house while they are stalked by a masked criminal known as the Bat. The Bat's identity is revealed in the end of the final act. The play originated as an adaptation of Reinhardt's 1908 mystery novel, The Circular Staircase. Doesn't have the same ring. Reinhardt and Hopwood altered the story to prepare it for Broadway, including the titular antagonist. The connection to the novel led to a legal dispute, blah, 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 blah.
They may have a case if the Bat's real secret identity is Wayne Bruce.
Or is a rich white guy.
Yeah. I remember seeing a documentary about Bob Kane years ago, and his wife, his second wife, who was married to when he passed away, she said like he would just introduce himself like, "Hi, I'm Bob Kane. I'm the creator of Batman." Like that was the full introduction everywhere he went for everything. He just like not even subtly just shoved it right into the introduction.
I Billy Mummy, who was on like Lost in Face, or thinking had some story about that too, or something like that. How we like, oh well, Batman's doing this in the ratings or whatever, and just like that. Yeah, that was sort of his thing. The other the story is the origins of Superman. If you go back to the early Simon and Schuster, Siegel and Schuster rather, Siegel and Schuster. There was a book called The Gladiator by Philip Wiley, who also wrote like the Savage Man, which that basically got ripped off for like Doc Savage and the Savage Gentleman or whatever. And then he wrote Gladiator, which was about this guy who was the product of this experiment. Like his father put him in this heavy gravitation chamber, so he became super strong, and then he went out. And there's so many similarities between that and like an early story by like Siegel and Schuster had written their prototype Superman story. That they go, there's no confirmation, but it's like you read this book and you read the early story and then the early stage of Superman, and you're like, oh yeah, this influenced it, Which, obviously, and that's not to say, oh, therefore everything you love is a fraud, it's all a lie. No, it's just these things just keep go back deeper and deeper and deeper. But so anyhow, I would just say back to the Bond movies, I recommend it. Like every one of them I think is neat if you watch the evolution of what they're trying to do with each one. When Sean Connery said he didn't want to do anymore, it was putting them into sort of an interesting position. So what did they do? And the whole casting of George Lazenby is fascinating. Lazenby had only been in commercials, had never really acted before, and heard that they were looking for somebody to play Bond, and literally just like went to Sean Connery's tailor, got a suit that he'd never picked up, showed up to the offices, barged his way in to get a meeting, and says, I'm here to play Bond or whatever. And then they're like, great, we'll have you talk to the producers. And he confesses to like the director or whatever. It's like, I've never acted before. I really don't know what to do. He's like, listen, you fooled everybody else so far.
Wow.
And now, if you ever watch,
seems to me like you've done a lot of acting,
very good
up until right now.
he does. So they cast him on Her Majesty's Secret Service, right? And it's actually, and that was the Peter Hunt, who'd been the editor of the films up until then, directed that. And it's a really kind of neat, the film from a style wise, like from a 70s sort of like, it's late 60s, but getting that, there's really cool moments there. But Lazenby, I used to go like, well, he does it really good because he plays his character with his voice, and the voice is great. And later on, Hunt, like watch the interview, Hunt's like, so we had him, he's playing this guy named Sir Hillary or whatever, who I basically was a friend of ours or somebody we knew, and we loved his voice because he had it. So I ended up just having that guy dub the entire voice anytime Bond speaks as that character.
Wow.
So that's not Lazenby's voice, because you hear it's like, wow, his voice is really good. He's able to like, nah, it's not his. But Lazenby decided that he gets cast, the world is opening up for him. In the middle of production, he's like, oh yeah, I'm only doing one. I'm one and I'm done, because I've got all these other offers and things I'm going to do.
Wow.
Remember the Next Stage Lazenby movie? Anybody?
No.
Anybody?
Not so much.
Yeah.
It is weird to wrap your mind around the fact that pretty much every movie you've ever seen that involves any outdoor scene ever, pre, 1985 or so, that's all ADR. That's all dialogue replacement after the fact in studio. Like, just mics were bad. They were hard to conceal. They were too big. You couldn't control sound in any case. So they like for example, Flash Gordon. That's not Sam what's his name's voice the entire movie long. He quite literally was just busy the day that they were going to have him do all of the ADR, and
he was busy like George Lazenby was.
Right. Yeah, and couldn't make it. So they're like, whatever, we'll just get this other guy. So the whole movie long, that's not the actor's voice for that.
Yeah, that was very common in Europe just to do other people's voices for it. Even still, though, if you go watch a big Hollywood movie, all of it's going to be ADR, almost all of it, like a Marvel, all this sort of stuff. It's just
and nowadays it's computer assisted ADR, where it's like they're able to fill in middle dialogue that gets changed.
Matches better, yeah. yeah, there's still they do that. And somebody was describing like I was watching, I think, Red Letter Media, and you're watching the Bram Stoker's Dracula, and they made the comment like they're like, it's like Keanu Reeves just did the most flat ADR you could imagine. And some they don't always, like some actors they don't, like some actors like they just don't want to do ADR and they have to get it on set because that can be like, who are you? Why are you here? What is going on? So my pick is all the Bond movies, all of them. I think every person who played James Bond did something neat and different with the role, and I think they're all bring something cool to it. What I love about Roger Moore was just like, I'm going to play Roger Moore playing James Bond.
Right.
And, he had a history of doing what they called light comedy, and was just Moore wasn't trying to be anybody else. He was trying to be himself, So cool. Gentlemen.
Yes.
It's been weird.
Oh, I didn't know you were waiting on that.
You look frozen in my head.
Alrighty. Well.
I blinked and that stare off. All right, here, I'm going to go use the restroom.
Yeah, we're going to take a minute and get ready for some after things. Thank you everybody for joining us here on Monday. Coming up in a little bit. What is that? Might be a leak. Coming up, got Cord Killers a little later today. Got Great Night this evening. What?
I ran long. I don't get to do after things.
Sorry, Andrew.
I ran long. I have a 1 o'clock thingamajig. So okay. I think with Joe there, I think you could do a great discussion about,
About something.
Yeah. Somebody mentions BioCow, 2 words, Roger Moore clown makeup. He did not want to wear the clown makeup. But because he played Bond so lightly, it was kind of stuck.
Yeah, we can do after things. Sandsdrew?
Yeah, Sandsdrew.
Alrighty. You know what I did over the weekend? Well, I've got the hat to prove it, but I went and saw the Austin soccer team.
Oh,
Sunday.
cool! How was that?
It was really, really fun. I'll tell you what, it was really fun. They ended up winning 2-1. And it was a really good time. They have like a huge fan section. Justin, I think it was Justin or Pat was telling me this with anytime there's like a new sports team, they really push a lot of effort into these like fan sections. And so the whole night long, they've got the drums and they're like dun, 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 and they're doing shit all night long.
Logo, is this like the Austin Ints? What is this?
It's, you know what? They don't have, there's like not a team like mascot or logo. It's just the Austin FC.
Is it like a menorah? What is
it's a tree. I think it's maybe supposed to be a cedar tree, or it's a tree for sure.
It is a horrible logo, but
not
God
great.
bless them. So,
not great. Not great, but
yeah. It's like, their new Lord of the Rings movie filming. Is this the Austin Hobbits?
That would be okay. Now that would be fun. The Austin.
Oh my God, middle or soccer?
Wow, that would be really cool. But they don't get to use any of their like weapons or power. Like we're not making Battle Bowl. We're just putting a bunch of different shapes into the pitch. But that was fun. Me and Justin and Pat went, and yeah, it was a blast. It was just a blast, and it's like right next to this little the Domain, which is this kind of outdoor mall-y sort of area, and
outdoor Molly. So you guys just do it out in the open now. That's just crazy.
But that meant we could like just go to a bar before and after and just hang out, because we could walk there. Like hundreds of people, including us, walked there from this little shopping center, which was a cool sight to see.
That's awesome. That's cool. Like I'd be interested to see if soccer really becomes popular, in the U.S. I mean, they were like, no, it is. I got.
If you gotta go do your thing.
Yep.
Go do your thing. I'll hold down the fort.
Later.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Much love to Mr. Andrew Main. In fact, we'll let him. There we go. All right, everybody. What we'll do is just a little bit of after things here in a minute. But yeah, that was fun. That's why I ended up getting a hat. Hold on. I ended up getting the hat. That was pretty cool. I ended up buying a lot of merchandise. I had I don't know, I had a really good time. But I ended up getting the jersey, the official licensed jersey. Well, it's like the jersey shirt, but then it was so busy we went during halftime that I didn't get. There was like a place where you could get stuff printed on the backside for like a players or team or custom whatever. But we didn't have time. We didn't have time for that. But it was indeed a good single time.
Oh, wonderful.
But yeah, and then they won.
That's great.
You know what?
Yeah.
It wasn't expensive. It was not expensive. Like on StubHub or wherever there was, like I found tickets same day for like 20, 25, $30. Like not expensive. So that was
Random fact for this.
a nice blast. It's cheap enough where you could just take other people. I could just take people there. Where you could just take some friends, and it's like about as much as going to the movies, whatnot. Hey, hello. Is that Joe and Brian?
Yo, yo, yo.
Andrew had a thing, so it's just us for after things.
Oh, this will be fun. You can, rather than write a question in for us to talk about where you can't respond, you can just ask us directly.
Okay. All right.
Alrighty. Well then, I'll bring us in here for some after things. Why don't we?
Cool.
All right, we'll get started here in 3, 2. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the After Things podcast. I am Bryce Castillo, joined as always with Brian Brushwood.
Hello, hello.
And we're joined with special guest, friend of the show, a regular name on the show, Joe Diamond.
Yeah.
Just goes to show that if you follow your dreams and bug your heroes enough, eventually you'll weasel your way onto their podcast that you've been listening to for 10 years.
Actually, I think there is a real lesson in there where it's like consistently over how many years have you been listening and submitting questions?
We've been doing After Things about 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
maybe
well,
it's
I
6 or 7.
mentioned in Weird Things, I've been listening. Like, I think it must have been within the first 10 episodes when I first started listening to Weird
Wow,
Things.
really early.
Like,
yeah.
and I remember the transition when it was just you and Andrew after one of the shows, just rambling and like, this needs to be its own thing,
Right.
And like the shoot off from there,
and sure enough, that's what it became.
Yeah, exactly.
But I suppose that there is a valuable lesson in the fact that if you consistently provide value over time, you built up a reputation among us. As soon as we got a Joe Diamond email, it's like, this is going to be a relevant question, something good that he's serious about, that we could do a deep dive on.
And something in our wheelhouse that we can address and hopefully give helpful advice.
Right. And then later when, eventually you started showing up on Scam Nation and Mono Rogue and all this stuff. And now we're at the point where it's like as we're experiencing right now, it's like, hells yeah, get Joe on the show. It'll be great.
Yeah. As my last video we filmed for Scam Nation was premiering, we were texting and you were like, when you want to come back?
Yes.
And I was like, this day, shrug shoulders, ? And you're like, okay, your ticket is
Booked.
bought. I was like,
yeah.
Okay.
And by the way, full disclosure, I don't even know what all we're going to shoot this week, but I know we're going to come up with plenty.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, we spitballed a couple ideas, and
Yeah.
there was some stuff from last time that we didn't even get to. So it's like, yeah, like it was just one of those things where it was like, yeah, like I said last time, it's like, hey, I've got tons of more stuff, so if you need anything, let me know. And so you knew when it was time, like, oh yeah, I know we talked about some stuff, we didn't get to it all, so I know we'll get something.
Right, right. So if you were to write in a letter at this point in your career, given everything that you have going on, what would the focus be? What advice should we ruminate on?
Quick recap, just to kind of put it in perspective for everyone else. I originally wrote in when I started doing 13-person mentalism shows in my artist studio, which is in a haunted mansion in Crystal Lake, Illinois, which has a background in Sideshow. Lou Ringling, she bought the property and expanded it. And after her husband, Al Ringling, passed away, she took her shares from the circus and bought this property. While she was in the circus, she started as a ticket taker, then as a snake charmer, and also did a mind reading act.
Holy cow.
It's very likely she did some kind of oracle code act a la Nightmare Alley. Guillermo del Toro version coming out soon.
Really?
Oh, you don't know this?
Oh, no.
Oh, we'll have to watch a trailer
All right.
later. All right, that'll be my pick. So I started just doing it just as like a weird side project because I could fit 13 people in. And it was right when you started offering up questions. And honestly, like it was like all of it was very spot on with like, reach out to escape rooms, help get them to promote. I was joking with Andrew before he had to get going. Like he was like, hey, stop just wearing, because initially I was like, oh, just wear, this is my side project for 13 people. I don't want to wear a suit and this is the suit and tie like I do for all my corporate shows. It's like, I'll dress down a little bit. And he immediately was like, find a middle ground. And I did, and he was right. There was another aspect. I remember, because I was thinking about redoing my website, and all three of you were like, wow, this website's really good and really clean. I was like, okay, don't touch it. Don't change it. Okay, something's working there. And that's continued to grow. I just came back to doing 13-person in-person shows during the pandemic or after the pandemic. And yeah, so they've been sold out for the last couple weeks, sold out through October and Halloween weekend and everything. So
how is everything unfolding for you post pandemic? And yes, before you write in, I understand, dear listener, that we're not really post.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, it's kind of, again, we're in this weird middle ground now where I also live on the Wisconsin-Illinois border. Where it's like, okay, some days it's like, okay, I'm just gonna go to run into Target real quick and don't have to do the scramble of, oh crap, I left the mask at home. It's like they've got the signs like, hey, if you're vaccinated, don't have to wear a mask, blah blah blah. I was like, okay, I'm just running in real quick and all that. I'll try not to lick the screens on my way out or something. And then there's some places like, without getting into too much detail, I'm doing a lot of events that are in high schools, and there's like no wiggle room. Like, it doesn't matter if you're 6 feet away. Like some places, like again, like they'll require masks, but if you're speaking or on a stage or something, you can. But not when you're presenting at freshman year's orientation.
Wait, so on stage you have to still wear a mask?
Still wear a mask if you are at least in the indoor. I mean, these are also North Shore, Chicago suburb high schools. So like they're going to follow every, dot every I, cross every T.
And
all that stuff.
No teacher wants to be cornered with the mentalist didn't have to wear one.
Well, that and also like, in usual, like you brought a guy in to read all our freshmen's minds. Okay. Oh, and he was unmasked and you didn't, there's, all that stuff. So anyway, there have been like, it's kind of like, how when like, I don't know how much we talked a bit about how some of the corporate stuff you did years ago. And it seemed like for like the last 20 years, it's always been like, okay, what's the dress code? Tie, no tie, like all that stuff. And I think just for now, the question is like, okay, is this mask? No mask. I am vaccinated. What's your protocol? And I have adjusted my show to where it does involve more people, and they don't have to be quite as close. They can still handle objects and such and so forth. So it's a fairly, COVID compliant, safe show as well. So it's, and again, with the 13-person show, it's small enough and everything. And most people just like do, like, even if they are vaccinated, they do want to keep it on just because like they don't know the other 8 people or something sometimes. So there's a bit of that. Virtual, I do love the simplicity of virtual in that, like, yeah, I get to just turn on my computer and perform for a couple hundred people and just
I've mentioned this before, but it's like, I feel like to some degree, the rest of Magic finally caught on to what I figured out 10 years ago, which is, ooh, that's nice. You just walk in and talk and then you go to bed. Pretty good.
Yep. All the everything's just right on the desk, ready to go. So I'm doing a virtual show, Halloween, because it's on a Sunday. And here's the other thing too that I'll notice.
And you're doing it as a ticketed event?
Yeah. Yep. So, and also speaking of which too, since I was last on Modern Rogue and Scam Nation, I've actually had people come to my shows, and when in the ticketing site says, how'd you find out about it? It's like Modern Rogue or Scam Nation or something.
Dude,
so
that's awesome.
That's pretty awesome. In person and a couple virtual ones too. So, so the virtual events are selling like hotcakes. Like I am sold out for the next couple weeks. I think I've got one show that only has like 5 spots open, And then my Halloween weekend shows, out of 50 tickets for each show, there's only 2 left in one and 8 in the other, and they're all the VIP tickets. So like those will sell. Like for Halloween, it's
what does a VIP ticket look like
since
at a
it's
virtual event?
So no, that's for in person.
Oh,
sorry, for in person.
Got it.
So yeah, so the VIP ticket includes the show, and then we do a flashlight tour of the mansion afterwards because it's like from the 1800s and all that stuff. So for virtual, that's like still I have barely moved any tickets for that, but I noticed when doing weekly virtual shows at the start of this year and kind of in the middle of the pandemic, it was the complete opposite. People didn't buy their tickets until like the day of. I think everyone was still, I want to use this term lightly, but like triggered to making plans. Like they wanted to wait till the last minute. No one wanted to buy, a ticket for a virtual event more than like a week out.
And
so
keep in mind early on, a lot of people had tickets to things and then the events got canceled. And
yeah, exactly.
As best I could tell, nobody got a refund for anything.
Well, here's where the next aspect of this comes in too. So with my ticketing now, let's just say, like, let's set, everything else aside, pandemic, all that. Let's just say, we talked about meteors in the last episode.
Right.
Let's say a meteor hits this historic building that, my props are in, my show is in, everything else. We can't really move it because like the whole point of it was like,
being in that building.
Yeah, being in that building.
Yeah.
Well, I have on my ticket saying if the live event is canceled, a virtual event will happen at the same date and time. So worst case scenario for any of my ticketed events, like it's like, and okay, turn on your computers. Here's the email everyone the link, and we'll do this. So I have a really nice cushion that I didn't have at the start of the pandemic. At the start of the pandemic, I refunded people. Like, I gave them the option of getting a code or a refund. And actually, a lot of people did opt for the code, and that was wonderful. And I've kind of you recommended this book a long time ago, Make Art, Make Money.
Yep.
There's another one, I can never pronounce the last name. I think it's Jeff Goins. It's Real Artists Don't Starve. And those are like a perfect like double feature. And in that he really talks about, looking at, people through as patrons and so forth. And I've really stopped trying to look at through the lens of, I'm a magician, I'm a mentalist, I'm a mind reader, I'm a psychic entertainer. It's like, no, I am an artist and these are my patrons.
Right.
Like that's how this goes.
They will follow you on your journey to other spaces.
Yes. And
should you want to direct a film, they will watch that film.
Yeah. So I have noticed though a lot of people, just because my clientele is a lot older, usually for those shows, I did notice there was a big hesitancy even still for virtual. But I think it's one of those things where it's like I think so many people are resistant to it, but once they actually see a good virtual show or experience, it's like, and I try to explain to people, like, you watch virtual entertainment all the time. You're not in the audience for the Tonight Show.
Right.
Like you're still, and this, you actually get to be a part of it. Imagine if you could like watch the Tonight Show and Jimmy Fallon could talk directly to you. And that's what you get in a virtual show.
So it sounds like you are of the belief that regardless of the pandemic status, virtual shows are here to stay.
I don't think they'll ever be the big boom that they once were.
that they by necessity were.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's why so many people are saying like, oh, they're going away and everything else. But like, I know I've got some corporate events coming up where it's like, hey, we can rent out this restaurant and only have 20 people. Again, pandemic or not, a space is finite.
Right,
you can only hold so many people in a banquet room, or we can have a slightly later meeting, give everyone a coupon code to get DoorDashed food from all the same place, and then everyone can watch this show together from the comfort of their home, including people on our in our West Coast office and all this other stuff. So I think at least for corporate, I think it's here to stay. As someone who has a virtual show coming up, for tickets, I don't know for ticketing. I mean, that's the other thing too. I knew the live shows would sell, and then Halloween night is on a Sunday, and a lot of people probably aren't going to want to go out anyway. And well, the other thing too is I've built an audience. Like I've got people who don't live in my area who were regulars in the virtual show. They haven't gotten their tickets. A lot of them haven't gotten their tickets yet because I think also people are just like they don't know what they're going to do with Halloween right now. And so I think virtual is going to be like kind of like a little bit like Netflix in a sense, where it's like it is a bit of like a last minute, like, oh yeah, let's do that tonight. I don't think it's something that people are going to carve out that they'll continue to do. At least for me and my business.
Yeah.
I may be completely wrong about other people, or some people might be shouting, nope, virtual's dead, never doing it again. And there were some performers that like really like dug their heels in, like, I'm not going to do virtual, or I can't wait for in person to come back because virtual stinks and everything else. And it's like, it's the same. Well, we've talked about this before. Every argument, there's nothing new about it. Like people said the same thing about TV when it came along. Like, oh, it's gonna eat up acts. Well, no, it gave us better acts.
Right.
Like, yes, it ate up the bad ones or the stagnant ones, and they didn't have much to do after the fact. The ones who actually innovated and moved forward.
Right.
did.
Well, and we were talking with Andrew Heaton, who there was some famous person who made marches of all things, and he was convinced that recorded music would be the death of people who write marches. It's like, why would you ever go see a live performance when you could listen to a recording of it? Well, because they're a different category, and yes, everything continuously splinters off. Sometimes things thrive, sometimes they go away and get crowded out by other things.
I remember some magicians were complaining like, oh, well, what's to stop someone from just recording the virtual show and then playing it? It's like, well, and I agree. And to the people who see a virtual show as a magic show on camera, I think, yeah, you're right. But that's not what people want. The reason virtual shows thrived was people wanted that connection.
Right.
They wanted that moment of like,
that electricity that you can raise your hand and be called on as a volunteer.
There was a moment, I called it the Jumbotron moment, where I would just, before I unmuted someone, I'd look over the audience, pick someone, and bring them up. And the moment they came up on screen and saw themselves, they got excited.
Right.
Because the Jumbotron moment, but also, oh my gosh, we're going to see what's the mind reader going to do with us? He's going to make us go get a book. He's going to make us go get a deck of cards or whatever. What's he going to do with us? So I think that was a big part of it too. And a lot of the shows that kind of refused to be that interactive aspect and like really put it in the, look at it from the standpoint of the audiences, like, they're not watching it because they want to be, they want to see a magic show on a screen.
Right.
They want to interact with the performer.
Do you have people like have a number of objects ready for like do you send a pre-letter that says, hey,
Go have a
thing,
cards, a book.
Yeah.
magazine.
Usually what I'll do, so usually it's like, okay, here are the items you'll need for the show. A deck of cards, doesn't have to be a full deck, Sharpie, all this other stuff, a book. And I won't, and even when I do like the shorter corporate shows, I don't use all of that material, but I like having it handy in case something screws up, in case I need to fill more time.
On top of that, also, I've noticed that there's real value to the heuristic of whether or not people are paying attention. Like if you could say, do you have a deck of cards? And they're like, no. It's like, okay, you are not prepared. You did not read the email. You are not going to be a good volunteer.
Yeah. So
right.
I've actually told people, like, do you have business cards on your desk? Yes. Well, write 7 playing card names on them. And while you do that, we're going to get someone else.
Right.
And go from there. So, and like the other thing too, is like, you get a chance to look into people's homes. Like there's this moment, like, could you imagine how excited Doug Henning would have been if he knew he could look into people's homes while doing his live shows on TV?
Well,
and could you imagine what he would give to have the opportunity we get?
Well, and our private spaces tend to be decorated in a way that is more honest than the bumper stickers we might put on the back of our car.
Yeah.
So it's like if you see in the background, like my daughter has a poster that says unicorns are real or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like there's some earnestness there that if not a remarkable mind reading achievement, at least allows you to set your artistic barometer to speak the same language as the person.
Yeah, and like. You get surprises. I had someone in India in one of my shows. That's awesome. It was night and it was day. They were having breakfast and watching the show.
That's so cool.
Like that's like come on, like that's amazing. That's truly amazing. And
if you don't mind me asking, what do you do for the ticketed event nature of things?
I use wellattended.com.
Okay.
Quick plug for them. William Rader, he's a mentalist as well, and he runs the company with a friend of his. And I've been using them for about 6 years. They're great. I love them. So just the other day there was an issue what someone was having with buying tickets, and I text William, and within a half hour it was taken care of. He's on the other side of the planet right now, and like you don't get that with other big ticketed names, which I won't name. You get the actual emails from people, so it's not like, oh well, you can click this button to email everyone, but you don't get to get their email or any of that stuff. It's like, no, you actually get to know, and you can customize it. Like I said, I customize it to where'd you find out about the show. And in the case of, here's the other thing too, with having people get things together, at least for people who are already patrons of mine, my live shows do that. I actually tell people for the show I'm doing now, that's in person, it's called Mystic. I tell people, bring your own book. We're going to do something with other people's books. It needs to be your own book.
Right.
So, and now it was all 13 people going to know, but I'm going to get like between 2 to 5, and that's gonna give me more than enough range for what I need.
Whoever
for the
does
show.
it will absolutely know and believe that was my book. And
yes,
so on.
and so doing that at home, like, oh yeah, you're gonna need this, this, and this, is just again part of the experience too. Like telling, I like giving people like, and I think it adds to the overall excitement of the show. Like, why do we need a broken watch? He told us we need to bring a watch. It doesn't matter. It's okay if it's broken. It's okay if it works. Like, why? What are we gonna need? It can't be digital. No, it can't be on our phones. No, why? And then they come to the show and they see, why do we need a book? Why can't it be a dictionary or a religious text? I don't know. We'll have to go see. And I think that again, and same thing for virtual. Why are we gonna need a deck of cards? Why are we gonna need all this stuff? And yeah. So I think, I didn't think we'd be here 2 years ago. Like, come on. So who knows if someone's listening to this? I mean, we're recording this in October of 2021. So if someone's listening to this in October of 2023 going, what an idiot. I can't believe he didn't see this.
I think the psychic scars of the past 2 years are going to linger for quite a while.
Are you talking about this or the one organization that left some psychic scars?
I mean, quite literally all of America and for all I know, the world. Like, I mean, this is some real stuff that we all had to go through and some real adjustments that we had to make.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the other thing too. Like, the excitement of a virtual show when you don't have any other options, it's not going to be like, no, it is never going to be the same.
Right.
I hope to Cthulhu, it's never the same. Like, seriously, but I don't think that gives it, that doesn't make it valuable. And I think that's important.
Right. Right.
So it's its own thing. Like trying to complain about like for example, just again, off the top of my head, I will never see Doug Henning live. He passed away when I was very young. He was long since retired. I will never have the chance to see it, but I'm very glad that footage exists,
archives,
and I can still connect or feel connected with and watch him and go, oh, he did this in an interesting way, or it's funny how he does this. And so, by the way, watch him on the Muppets. It's on Disney Plus. His episode on the Muppet Show is amazing. It's wonderful. He's so charming. He makes such great eye contact with the Muppets. It's wonderful. And Fozzie is trying to learn magic, and he's a total hack magician, just like he's a hack comedian, which is pretty amazing.
Doug definitely had a gift for at least presenting as very present in the moment in all of his work. Bryce, do you have any questions?
No, I think you managed to get most everything. The thing which I think you kind of answered was like, you've got these list of materials that people need to bring.
Mm-hmm.
How do you like, I don't know, select them out for like do you say like, hey, did you bring a book? Raise your hand if you brought a book.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Something soft like that.
Well, I mean, and that's the other thing too. Like some people don't turn their cameras on, and that's fine. It's been some weird ones. Like there was one show where it was just an empty room. Like there were people there, but one of the screens, Like it was a living room, but there was no one there.
Oh,
There was
that's weird.
I was like, did they throw it? And I like thought about it. I'm like, did they throw up like a green screen? Is it like one of these fake backgrounds? It's like, it looks pretty weird. I don't know. And like, it was just this. And again, like, I'm okay if someone doesn't want to turn on their screen. Like, fine. That's okay. Whatever. But like, to have just like an empty room in front.
I mean,
like
They must have gone to the bathroom or something, right? I mean, it's got
It was
to
the
be
whole show. It was the
Really?
whole
Wow.
no, it was the whole show.
That smells like a cute joke that you would do if
Or-
you didn't want to
yeah.
get called on for a trick or something.
But I was like, because I say at one point, I say to someone else, like, go into a gallery view and pick someone you don't know. And they're like, oh God, is that an empty room? And then it was empty later on when I told them to go back to gallery view. So it was like, I just kept making lines like, I hope you're okay. I hope you're not like dead at the, passed out underneath the screen.
Lift up an arm if you need help.
If you need help, you can unmute. We'll call someone. We'll help you.
Yeah.
It'll be okay.
So funny.
But you've never run into like nobody brought the book or nobody brought cards.
I think one show there was like half the people, they were like, oh, did we get cards? I don't remember. It's like, well, go get the cards before we start. While we do that, we're going to, and I would just tell people. If it was much bigger, because there were some corporate events where, it was like a couple hundred people, but I only saw like, 20 or 50 or however many were on the screen. So who knows? And it's like, and my feeling too is with that kind of stuff is if you're not gonna play along, like, then yes, keep your screen off. There's nothing I'm gonna do.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I have a weird way of thinking about this that a lot of magicians don't agree with, and there's the feeling of like, and this depends on context and everything too. That said, like, if the people are there and in chairs, they care. Everyone always says, "Oh, you got to make them care. You got to do this." They're there. They got a sitter. They're in their seats. Your job is to make them not uncare. Like, they're there already.
Yeah.
Now, yes, there's corporate events where like they're there and they have to be, and you got to win them over.
Right.
Yes, I get that.
But in general, anybody who bought a ticket has already self-selected as buying into what's about to happen.
Yes.
We just did our first live event here on campus, and it was very much the same thing. The only thing we did was a whisper campaign, so everybody there was either already knew what they were in for, or was a friend that was drug out to participate or whatever. So there was very little having to win over of anybody, and it was wonderful.
Yeah, exactly. And so, there's and again, in the case of something virtual, those people just aren't going to turn their camera on, so it's not a problem,
Right.
Like imagine if you could mute every single one of the hecklers you've ever had, like
Or
have that
every
great power.
person who,
Like,
when you go to select a volunteer, crosses their arms and looks down or whatever.
I actually have. So Joshua J did a great study. It's online. I can't remember it offhand because I flew today. But he actually polled people, and like audience selection was like it was no in between. People either wanted to participate or they did not.
Right.
And there was no one who was lukewarm on it almost.
And I do find at live events, it's pretty transparent which one is which. I mean,
Yes.
there are not so subtle cues that people give.
So I actually incorporate that into my ticketing system. I actually have an introvert section where I say you can come see the mind reading show and you will not be picked. It's just $10 more.
That's brilliant.
And
when you charge more, that's really
and
really
they
smart.
sell. They
Wow.
sell
I
every
bet.
single show
Yeah.
they have sold. So there's that. But also if it's like a corporate event or I'm performing at a place like just for example, the Chicago Magic Lounge in Chicago, I'll usually say, who here has never been to one of these shows but has always wanted to help out on stage? Or who, in the case of my shows, who's never been to one of my shows but would like to give this mind reading stuff a try? And kind of let them, and I know like the old thing of like, don't ask for a volunteer because everyone will say no and everything else. And again, that's not the first thing I say either. That's not an opening line. You got to do that at the right point.
Correct. The way I think about it is you have to fill up the bucket, build the trust and the credit.
Yeah.
Then you get to harvest and
Yes.
ask people up on stage.
Yes, exactly. And at the same time too, so many people, like, again, they're seeking out this type of entertainment because they want to be a part of it. Like, they don't want to watch, 30 minutes of, and no matter how beautiful the coin manipulation is, they don't want to watch just
Right.
like a camera on hands for 30 minutes doing it, because eventually it's, that's not what they came for. They came to connect. They came to be
To be
surprised.
seen, to recognize, to
Yes,
participate.
And especially again during the pandemic when Magic could actually, I mean, think about this too. More people saw, yes, it wasn't in person, but more people saw interactive live Magic in the last 2 years than probably in the last, like, I can't tell you how many times I got messages from people saying, "Hey, we had a mentalist in our corporate event today," or, "Oh, hey,
Wow.
my kids had a magician who came on screen for school, and he had them all come up and touch the screen, and they moved around, and he guessed their fruit that they landed on and stuff." Like that's
remarkable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and not outside. Sorry, I got caught over my words. Like, yes, a lot of people watch Magic on TV. A lot of people see it on the internet. But again, those are pre-recorded things. This is happening in real time,
Right.
which there is a difference for. You can feel.
There is an electricity. There is, yeah.
Yes, exactly. And the other thing too, I mean, when you can see the people, like, whenever I heard magicians go like, "Oh, well, I'm the kind of performer that feeds off the audience," it's like, well, first of all, you're not special. That's all of us.
Right.
That's, so, and also you're kind of admitting that you're just doing this for your own weird grief vampire stuff. You have nothing you want to communicate other than gimme, gimme, gimme. Like, and that was what I felt was a lot of just artists in general, but particularly magicians and mentalists. It's like, hey, we have something that's interactive that can be in people's. I also love how like those impossibility books by Jim Steinmeier, everyone like crapped all over those for years. Like, oh, it's just mathematical puzzles and everything. And then within weeks,
all of a sudden,
into
everybody was like,
March.
where's
Yeah,
that book that I claim to
yeah,
hate?
Yeah, exactly.
It's now half my act.
They were sold out at every
That's
online Magic
amazing.
store. He had to do reprintings on some of them
And for the non-magicians out there, this is a book of one of those self-working things where all you have to do is repeat the instructions correctly, and at home you will end up on a forced whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's so it was really fascinating to see how quickly people's tone changed. But also, like, again, like the idea, the pitch I'm giving for Halloween is like, hey, you think you're safe in your own home,
Right.
We're gonna do mind reading and paranormal tests in your house.
That is the
on
best
Halloween
presentation
week.
because
the
there's no scared
Well-
like being alone and scared.
Well, I'll tip this. Well, it's not a spoiler. The show is called Lights Out, and everyone is encouraged to watch
with the lights out.
So,
yeah.
and I did it last Halloween, sold out 2 shows last Halloween. And like, that's the other thing too. Like, I'm not again, the live events, they've sold well. Like, if I sold no more tickets for the rest of October, I'd be very happy and I'd be very spoiled. That said, like, if nothing else happens okay, fine. Then I take Sunday night off.
Yeah, right?
Like, I didn't rent the space. I didn't, like, have to drive. I didn't have to carve out, too much time. It's like, okay, all right, then that doesn't happen.
So
it's low risk.
I have one last question, I guess, is it's two-parter. What would you say is your ratio of in-person and virtual events, and do you think that you have a preferred mix or a blend? Like, oh, maybe ultimately I'd like to do 2/3 virtual, or maybe I'd like to only.
That's the other thing too. Like, before the pandemic, I loved my schedule. It was a consistent, but I think I've told you this before, but just for posterity, I'll tell you again, and you can verify for everyone how rare this is in our industry. I worked 4 to 5 days a week consistently, with a very set schedule. Wednesdays were days in the office where I, built props, did creative stuff, wrote down on billets, all the piddly crap, got all the props ready, and if I had leftover time, worked on new material. Thursday nights, I was in a restaurant. Friday nights, I did my 13-person ticketed show. Saturday nights were either private bookings or I was booked to do close-up shows in another haunted mansion, which is a boutique hotel, where and that's the other thing too.
Are artisanal ghosts.
Yes.
Do
Yes.
not.
Oh, you have no idea. You just nailed my whole business.
Manufactured right here in the
Yes.
great United States of America.
No GMOs.
So normally when you do like restaurant work, it's like, $20 an hour, $30 an hour. And yeah, it sounds a lot, but you're only doing 2 hours a night, all this other stuff.
Right.
I stopped doing restaurants because I was making so much with the 13-person shows. Like, yes, at $20 to $30 a ticket, it's not a ton of money, but compared to $60 at a restaurant for
sure.
twice as long,
Yeah.
it's great money.
Well, and also the opportunity to work out material and get it
Yes.
chrome-like polished for
Yes.
stage as opposed to for close-up.
Sure, but also like, so you're telling me I can get paid 5 times more and everyone comes to me? Like, sure. So when this other mansion approached me, I was able to go, well, here, this is how much I make if I do a ticketed show. You need to at least match this.
Mhm.
If
You have to beat
want,
this
yes,
or my
yes,
time,
Yes,
like, doesn't
exactly.
make sense
Otherwise,
for
I
us.
can just have a ticketed show.
Right.
And then sometimes I do the occasional Sunday that like. There's a
So
lot of,
what's your-
brunches.
Yeah.
So anyway, so what I'm getting at with like, okay, so that's 5 days with Monday and Tuesday off. If I didn't do anything Sunday, then my wife and I, well, at the time, fiance and I, had a day off together. Like, how rare is that in our industry?
Oh, sure.
Like, are you like, where are you going this week? I don't know. Like, I knew where I was going to be Wednesday. I knew, like, yes, there'd be slight variations. Like, oh, I have to take off because I'm going to go do this corporate overnight thing here and there. But again, that's part of it. So I realize how rare that is. And I'm starting to get back more into like that groove. I'm back to doing live shows. I kind of took a big chunk of September off because I knew I worked every day this summer. I did a guest spot in an illusion show in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. So I came out and did 20 minutes of mentalism every day from Memorial Day to Labor Day.
Right.
So I dove back into a couple private gigs and the Friday night shows, but for the most part, I took a lot of September off because I knew October would be crazy. And yep, here I am back here. So I was
Yeah.
right. It's like I'm psychic or something.
Okay.
So and then Halloween is going to be the back to virtual. So where this is going is
Okay, yeah.
with the holiday events, they're all booking for in person right now, but I'm expecting 10 to 20% of my holiday events to be virtual. And I'm expecting to do more of those because, again, I can squeeze more of those in
Right.
rather than like an in-person show where I've got to take into account travel time and all this stuff. If I come home from, the one corporate event at 8 o'clock, but I'm going to do one at 10 o'clock for a company on the West Coast because it's, earlier there, then yeah, that's going to be more doable. And I can, rather than like having to carve out a whole day for an in-person show.
Yeah.
So I'm expecting that. And I am planning on going back to doing ticketed virtual shows, probably like once every Wednesday or something for the winter month. Because that's the other thing too. I think like, it's been nice. Like this summer and spring.
Oh, sure,
and autumn.
sure.
So I think a lot of people have just been out and about. So I'm gonna, again, like worst case scenario, like, okay, then after this grand experiment, I go back to just doing live shows again and do the occasional 2 to 3 virtual shows a year. And, that's fine. Or, it stays a part of my business. Either way, I'm happy with that.
Well, in the meantime, let's do the plugs.
Yeah.
Where would people go to book you?
JoeDiamondLive.com. It's also at Joe Diamond Live on all social medias. So this is actually you can go back to that real quick, Bryce, because I was gonna wait till on Scam Nation for this, but if you go to, you can't access it through the main site, but if you go to JoeDiamondLive.com/store, this is my new top secret page for mystery performers. So I know you have a lot of magicians and mentalists who are listening, and that is all my stuff. Scroll down, you can see my penguin lecture, all my downloads. You can go there and check that out. You can only access it through that top secret link. All my stuff, I don't I do a lot of like knuckle busting sleight of hand, but if you've seen anything I've done, particularly the stuff we did on Scam Nation, I'm more
of a storyteller. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, even if you're a beginner, you can do most of the stuff on that page. So
Dude,
if you're looking to dip your toe in.
This has been an absolute blast. Thank you so much
you.
for guesting and
Thank you.
filling up an entire hour or half an hour of
course.
advice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is tremendous. Thank you so much, Joe
you.
Diamond.
And thank you so much, Brian.
Thank you so much, Bryce.
Thank you, Bryce.
And
Bryce,
thank you
you're
so much
amazing.
to our
And
listeners.
Get bent, Andrew and Justin.
Get bent. Go to space. For everybody
You're my
here,
wife now.
it's been after. Cool. Hey, there we go.
We did it.
Alrighty, everybody. We're going to come back in a couple of hours here for some cord killers.
Yeah, I got to flip the switch and start doing prep for that.
Yeah.
Hey, spoiler alert for Cord Killers.
Okay.
The shows we're watching, they were all really good this week.
I agree.
Like-
I agree. I think I agree.
I don't know. Ted Lasso was fine. But What We Do in the Shadows was back in full force. Yeah, there you are. And
I need to remember. That's the problem with these shows is
the
that they're all the Baron. That was fine. That was
what?
fine. Yeah. That was
Okay,
fine.
all right, we'll talk about
All
it.
right.
They did pay off the golden retriever bit.
They
which
did. Yes,
yeah.
I remember. I did remember seeing that. All right, everybody. Well, we'll talk about that and everything else
All right.
more in a couple of hours here at Cord Killer. Remember, follow and hit the bell and all the stuff. Bye.
Love you.